Garden of Rama holds all the mysteries of Rama. Anything from the first two novels that made you curious, this will answer. Why does Rama look like it does inside? What are the cities spread throughout the cylinder? What was that room full of holographic crystals? What are the biots? What are the octospiders? And who are the avians? But most importantly, who made Rama and why? Hey, welcome to Sci-Fi Secrets. We start off this novel by finding out that Nicole actually was pregnant and has just given birth to Simone. 9 months have passed since Rama 2 headed out of the solar system after Earth shot 18 nuclear missiles at it. At this point, the seven horns at the southern pole began another light show. This signaled another change in Rama. The avians were seen flying to the north, and the octospiders traveling across the ice to the south. I don't know if this is a mistake or not because the avians can fly and there's a 500-meter tall cliff to the south, but for some reason the octospiders go south and the avians go north. I guess they can climb perfectly vertical cliff faces. A few days after this, a new kind of biot comes into the human lair. They are described as 6-foot-tall mantises with a human-like hand where their mouth should be. They set up acceleration tanks in the lair, and the humans were made to get into them for extended periods each day, usually sleeping throughout the experience. Richard calculates that they are now going several million miles per hour, increasing each time they get in the tanks. This goes on for several weeks before Rama stops accelerating and the humans return to their somewhat normal lives, flying through space at around half the speed of light. Nicole has a second child on Rama, another daughter. This gets her thinking about how her daughters will never have husbands. She comes up with an idea. She will sleep with Michael and make her daughters half-brothers they can marry. Yes, seriously. Clearly, this doesn't go over well with Richard, but Nicole is adamant. She gives reasons like more genetic diversity, and her daughters will never experience love, even though they have no idea what their futures entail, being stuck on an alien spacecraft and everything. But she's pretty obsessed with the idea, so eventually Richard kind of agrees. So she slips out and bones Michael several times. She gets pregnant with Michael's son. This makes Richard get angry and leave. And I mean, he's gone for a long time, several years. No clue how he hid in New York, a pretty small island, for that long. I get the feeling that they didn't really look for him. He couldn't get to the southern hemicylinder because of the 500-meter tall cliff, and he couldn't get to the northern hemicylinder because after Rama stopped accelerating, the engines apparently switched to heaters and melted the cylindrical sea. Although now that I think about it, Richard did seem pretty gung-ho about swimming with the shark biots the first time, so maybe he would swim to the north. Benji, Michael's son, is born, and he turns out to be mentally disabled. So, they have a second son together, and this one is not mentally disabled. One day Katie, the second daughter, wanders off and goes into the octospider's lair. Nicole finds the open door to the lair and puts two and two together. She goes in after Katie. Nicole sees the same room as before, the one with a stuffed Dr. Takagishi and a stuffed avian, along with stuffed biots of all shapes and sizes. But this time the biots are gone, and there are more stuffed avians. Dr. Takagishi has moved to his own display area, full of all the family's missing items that they had lost while playing or exploring in New York. And in that display was many pictures of the families going about their daily lives. Inside their lair, they were being watched somehow. Then, Nicole hears Katie. She is nearby, in the same room. Nicole turns and sees her standing in the doorway, with an octospider standing next to her. Katie informs Nicole that it has just been watching her. Reunited, they return home. The next day, they find an unconscious, emaciated Richard on their doorstep. With him are his toy robots he made. One speaks. It says, "Here is your man. We are peaceful," in English. Over the next several months, Richard comes out of his coma and most of the following mental issues, which include missing memories and troubles thinking. He never regains his memories of the time he was gone, however. After several years, they notice that Rama is approaching Sirius, a star 8.6 light years from the solar system. Their trip time was about 14 years. Rama had accelerated to well over 0.5 c, or half the speed of light. In what seems to be about 2 months, they decelerate. This might not seem like it's long enough, but at 8 hours a night for 2 months at about 10 Gs of acceleration, or deceleration in this case, the math actually works out. Here at Sirius, Rama enters a queue lined up outside a cylinder about twice the radius and length as Rama. Here, they are guided by the mantises into a bus-sized transport ship. It brings them to the Mega Rama, where tests are conducted on them by teams of robots. They are held in confinement. Richard bypasses their security one night and gets out. Shortly after, he is brought back unconscious by a new, highly advanced, and possibly sentient robot. This one looks like a hybrid between a man and an eagle. It speaks with them but refuses to tell them any information about what this place is. Eventually, they are transported to the Node, a gigantic triangle with 3 enormous spheres at the vertices of the triangle, each about 50 miles in diameter. Here they get random glimpses of other species, but are basically still prisoners. Notice also that only some of you will be returning, Mrs. Wakefield, the Eagle said directly to Nicole. You will definitely be traveling again in Rama. This is one of the constraints that we are placing on the mission. We will let you and the rest of your family decide who will accompany you on the journey. You can go alone if you choose, leaving everyone else here at the Node. Or you can take some of the others. However, you cannot all make the voyage on Rama. At least one reproductive pair must stay here at the Node to ensure some data for our encyclopedia in the unlikely event that the mission is unsuccessful. The primary purpose of the Node is to catalog life forms in this part of the galaxy. Spacefaring life forms have the highest priority, and our specifications call for us to collect vast amounts of data about each and every spacefarer we encounter. To accomplish this task, we have worked out, over hundreds of thousands of years of your time, a method of gathering this data that minimizes the likelihood of a cataclysmic intrusion into the evolutionary patterns of those spacefarers, while at the same time maximizing the probability of our obtaining the vital data. Our basic approach involves sending observing spacecraft on reconnaissance missions, hoping to lure spacefarers to us so they can be identified and phenotyped. Repeat spacecraft are later sent to the same target, first to expand the degree of interaction, and ultimately to capture a representative subset of that spacefaring species so that long-term and detailed observations can take place in an environment of our choice. So this was the purpose of Rama, to collect data on new species. So here's the full story as I understand it. Before humans ever saw Rama, Rama had visited the Octospider and Avian star systems. They most likely boarded it like the humans did, and then left it, and it left their star system empty, just as it did for the first visit to the solar system. Then, Rama enters the solar system for the first time, and the crew of Endeavour boards Rama. That's the story of Rendezvous with Rama. The things the crew of Endeavour see are explained as relics of previous species that had lived on Rama. Each of the city-like structures was a previous alien colony that lived on Rama in the past and was studied by the higher intelligences that run the Node. Rama then goes to the Octospider star system a second time and picks up some small number of octospiders. Rama then goes back to the Node, and the southern hemicylinder is refit with a colony for the octospiders as to the preference of those that came on Rama. Rama then returns to the Octospider star system for a third time, picks up a full colony of octospiders, as well as picks up the avians from a different star system. I don't know what order these two events happen in. Maybe the avians boarded Rama before the third trip to the Octospider star system, maybe after, but almost certainly they boarded after Rama was refit at the Node for the Octospider colony. After this, Rama returned to Earth for a second time and picked up Nicole Desjardins, Richard Wakefield, and Michael O'Toole. It then took them to the Node, where they help set up a colony for the humans, while concurrently setting up a colony for the avians in all their forms, which they apparently have 4 of if you include egg. This is all conjecture, however. What we know for sure is this. Rama was made piece by piece, and after Nicole and family arrive at the node, it is disassembled and reformatted to fit 2,000 humans. Nicole will be sent back with it to collect more humans who will board Rama. Nicole is forced to record a message that will be sent back to Earth, telling them that Rama will require 2,000 human colonists, and they should be sent to Rama immediately upon Rama's 3rd arrival in the solar system. "Where are we going?" Nicole asked. "On a short tour," the Eagle replied. "That may be the best way to deal with your uncertainties." The strange vehicle was small and spherical, just large enough for the Eagle and Nicole. The entire front hemisphere was transparent. Behind the window, on the side, where the alien Birdman was sitting, was a small control panel. During the flight, the Eagle occasionally touched the panel, but most of the time the craft seemed to be operating on its own. Within seconds after they were seated inside, the sphere zipped down a long corridor and through a large set of double doors into total blackness. Nicole gasped. She felt as if she were floating in space. "Each of the 3 spherical modules of the node," the Eagle said, as Nicole struggled vainly to see anything at all, "has a hollow center. We have now entered a passageway that leads to the core of the habitation module." After almost a minute, some distant lights appeared in front of their small craft. Soon thereafter, the vehicle emerged from the black passageway and entered the immense hollow core. The sphere flipped and turned, disorienting Nicole as it headed towards the darkness, away from the many lights of what must have been the insides of the main body of the habitation module. "Would you like to meet a member of a species whose development level is approximately equal to yours?" the Eagle said. He touched the control panel, and the interior of their craft was illuminated by soft lights. Before Nicole could respond, the second vehicle was beside them. It also had a transparent forward hemisphere. This second sphere was filled with a colorless liquid, and 2 creatures were swimming about. They looked like large eels wearing capes, and they moved in undulations through the liquid. Nicole estimated that the creatures were about 3 meters long and 20 centimeters thick. The black cape, which spread out like a wing during movement, was about 1 meter wide when fully extended. "The one on your right, without the colored markings," the Eagle said, "is an artificial intelligence system. It serves a role similar to mine, acting as a host for the aquatic species. The other being is a spacefarer from another world." Nicole stared at the alien. It had folded its cape tightly around its slightly greenish body and was sitting nearly motionless in the liquid. The creature had arranged itself in a horseshoe configuration, with both ends of its body facing her. A burst of bubbles came from one of its 2 ends. "It says, 'Hello, and wow, are you intriguing,'" the Eagle said. "How do you know that?" Nicole replied, unable to take her eyes off the bizarre being. Its 2 ends, one bright red and the other gray, had now wrapped around each other. Both were pressed against the window of the craft. "My colleague in the other vehicle is translating, and then communicating to me. Do you wish to respond?" Nicole's mind was blank. "What do I say?" she thought. Her eyes focused on the unusual wrinkles and the protuberances on the alien's extremities. There were 6 separate features on each end, including a pair of white slits on the red face. None of the markings looked like anything that Nicole had ever seen on Earth. She stared silently, remembering the many conversations that she and Richard and Michael had had about the questions they would ask if and when they were ever able to communicate directly with an intelligent extraterrestrial. But we never imagined a situation like this, Nicole thought. More bubbles flooded the window opposite her. "Our home planet accreted 5 billion years ago," the Eagle said, translating. "Our binary star reached stability 1 billion years later. Our system has 14 major planets, on 2 of which some kind of life evolved. Our oceanic planet has 3 intelligent species, but we are the only spacefarers. We began our space exploration slightly more than 2,000 years ago." Nicole was now embarrassed by her silence. Hello, she said haltingly. It is a pleasure to meet you. Our species has only been spacefarers for 300 years. We're the only highly intelligent organism on the planet that is 2/3 covered by water. Our heat and light come from a solitary, stable yellow star. Our evolution began in the water 3 or 4 billion years ago, but now we live on the land. Nicole stopped. The other creature, its two ends still entwined, had now brought the rest of its body over against the window so that the details of its physical structure could be seen more clearly. Nicole understood. She stood up next to the window and turned around slowly. Then she held her hands out, wiggling her fingers. More bubbles followed. Do you have an alternate manifestation? The eagle translated a few seconds later. I don't understand, Nicole replied. The nodal host in the other sphere communicated her message, using both body motion and bubbles. We have 2 manifestations, the alien explained. My offspring will have appendages, not unlike yours, and will dwell mostly on ocean bottoms, building our homes and factories and spaceships. They, in turn, will produce another generation that looks like me. No, Nicole replied eventually. We have only a single manifestation. Our children always resemble their parents. The conversation lasted for 5 more minutes. The 2 spacefarers talked mostly about biology. The alien was especially impressed by the wide thermal range in which humans could function successfully. It told Nicole that members of its species were unable to survive if the ambient temperature of the surrounding liquid was outside a narrow range. Nicole was fascinated by the creature's description of a watery planet whose surface was almost totally covered by huge mats of photosynthetic organisms. The caped eels, or whatever they were, lived in the shallows just below these hundreds of different organisms and used the photosynthesizers for practically everything: food, building materials, even as reproductive aids. At length, the eagle told Nicole that it was time to depart. She waved at the alien, which was still pressed against the window. It responded with a final flurry of bubbles and unwrapped its 2 ends. Seconds later, the distance between the 2 capsules was already hundreds of meters. With this, Nicole's doubts were resolved, and she agreed to make the video to be sent back to the Earth. The octospiders and avians were previous mission subjects, who, like Nicole, were forced back on Rama to retrieve a colony of their species from their planet. All 3 of these colonies now live together on Rama. There were 2 other ships at the node also being refurbished. One is shaped like a wagon wheel, the other like a starfish. This implies that Rama 1 was the same ship as the one that came back 66 years later. It was just slightly refitted for the octospiders to live in the south. At one point, Richard sneaks into the avian colony. While there, he sees a strange 4-paneled mural. In the upper right, it had what looked to be a monomelon. In the upper left, it had an avian. The bottom left, however, had a strange cat-like ant creature. And in the lower right, it had what looked like a pile of cotton candy. We find out that the avians are in a complex symbiotic relationship with another sentient species, the myrmecats, which look like dog-sized furry ants with an extra pair of eyes on eye stalks, but with a posture and gait like that of a cat, if cats had 6 legs. And the myrmecats eventually turn into a single sentient mass of sessile neurons. As each myrmecat dies, it becomes part of this interconnected web, storing its memories for eternity. The sessile web in turn creates eggs. The monomelons that Nicole and Richard had eaten when they were first stranded on Rama were these eggs. It's unclear how the avians fit into this exactly. The myrmecats must be getting something out of their relationship, possibly protection, and in return, the avians subsist on a diet of only monomelons, keeping them inexorably tied to the myrmecats. So now, all 3 colonies of aliens are living on Rama, side by side. The octospiders, far to the south of the sea, the myrmecats and avians living on the northern shore of the sea, and the humans to the far north. Unfortunately, the Earth government decided to lie to the Earth and hide the message from the node that Nicole had recorded. Instead, they sent prisoners and told the population of Earth that they were starting a Martian colony. This obviously led to many issues and power struggles in the human colony, and the group that emerged victorious was led by xenophobes who wanted Rama all to themselves. Nicole is imprisoned as a traitor to humanity, so Richard sneaks into the Myrmicat avian colony. While he is being held there by the avians, the xenophobic leaders of the human colony declared war on the avians and Myrmicats. The Myrmicats ask him to take a few of their fertile monomelons and avian eggs and escape. On the way, he encounters humans who kill his avian guides, and he barely gets away. The book ends with Nicole being sentenced to execution the next day. This is where Garden of Rama ends. The next book in the series, Rama Revealed, continues the story. Well, if you like that, then please like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe. And hopefully I will see you back here for the next video. Thanks for watching.